Hey everyone, welcome to the Dram Amateur Podcast, your go-to show for everything bourbon, whiskey, rum, tequila, mezcal, and beyond. I'm your host, Jason. Join me as I journey and explore the world of alcoholic spirits. Let's get started. All right, welcome back to the Dram Amateur Podcast, the show where we explore the stories, spirits, and sips that make the world of whiskey, bourbon, rum, tequila, and mezcal so exciting. I'm your host, Jason, and I'm thrilled to have you here for another pour of great conversation. Before we dive in, don't forget to connect with me on Instagram, X, and Threads at Dram_amateur. And Facebook under the Dram Amateur Podcast to stay in the loop with exclusive content and updates. Whether you're a seasoned enthusiast or just starting your journey into the world of fine spirits, this is your spot to sip, learn, and share. So pour yourself something good, get comfortable, and let's kick off an unforgettable episode of the Dram Amateur Podcast. And with that said, I am super excited to have a guest with me here tonight. I've known this guy now via Instagram for a while. We haven't had a chance to connect yet, but tonight I'm welcoming a guest who has not only mastered the art of enjoying a fine pour, but has also elevated the experience with some of the most creative ideas in the community. You know him as Mr. Given on Instagram, creator of High Proof Hikes and Porch Pops, proving that whiskey pairs just as well with nature and fresh air as it does with a comfy chair and a quiet evening. Whether he's climbing mountains with a bottle in tow or turning his porch into a stage for whiskey appreciation, his content is as entertaining as it is inspiring. Get ready for laughs, insights, and maybe a few tips on how not to spill your drink mid-hike. Let's welcome in the one and only Mr. Given. John, how you doing, buddy? Welcome to the Dram Amateur Podcast.
Good to be here. I didn't know I was going to be flattered right off the bat.
When I started to think about doing this and set this up, I told myself, I said, I am literally going to try to write the best intro for every single person that starts to start it off, because I want you guys to feel welcome, just kind of loosen the tension and have a good time with it. So, how you doing tonight?
Doing good. Good. Life is good, as I say in my post. Sometimes life is actually good.
And it's Thanksgiving Eve, so it's a little bit of preparation before Thanksgiving. Are you fully prepared for Thanksgiving tomorrow, or just still kind of winging it and prepare tomorrow morning?
That is a Mrs. Given question. She had to go pick up strawberries today when she got off work, and I was like, "Why'd you go the day before Thanksgiving to pick up the strawberries?" Just one of them things.
Cool. So do you guys do Thanksgiving at your house? Go to family? How does it all work with you guys?
I don't have much family. I actually grew up without grandparents and aunts and uncles and all of that stuff. Just had mom, stepdad, brother, sister. But my wife, where we're from, she's kin to half the county. That ain't no joke. She got a ton of family. But we're going to go because, if you follow me on Instagram, we just moved last year to the Macon area. So we're going to go back home where we're from and go to her family for Thanksgiving. And she cooks a few things to take every year. And I said that about the strawberries because one of her things that she takes is I actually don't know what she calls it now that I think about it. It's just some kind of fruit pie. It's got pineapples and whipped cream and strawberries and stuff in it, graham cracker crust. I don't know what she calls it, but everybody loves it. So she takes that. And there was something else that she made last year that was a hit, some kind of cream corn. She's going to make that again. But yeah, she does all of that stuff. And then it's just my responsibility to leave her alone, stay out of her way, load the stuff up when she tells me to, and then I drive.
So you don't do any cooking. I'm a little surprised by this. You are like the man of you have I see everything that you do. You're like, today I texted you, I'm putting together furniture, I'm going on a high proof hike, or I'm doing something. I got a honey-do list to do. You do everything. So no cooking for you? You're not the cooking guy?
I got into the Blackstone thing a few years ago, and that went away. And then whenever it come time to move, I wasn't moving to Blackstone, so I ended up giving that to a buddy back home. And I've actually got a little tabletop grill. There you go. Well, that's one of the sayings that when you turn 40, you either get into whiskey or you start smoking meat. I ain't. And several of y'all that I follow do. I am not smoking meat. I don't think I'll ever get into that. I mean, I guess I could see the putting it out there on the thing, and then you don't do anything for like 18 hours. But yeah, I don't think I'll get. That just doesn't interest me. I don't think I'll get into that.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. See, for me, I started with the Easy Bake Smoker. So I started with a Traeger, which really isn't even a smoker, to be honest with you. It's like an oven that's powered by like pellets, whatever. And then I decided I didn't like that, and I wanted like an actual smoker. So I bought it looks like I don't know if you've seen it in my picture, in my reels. It looks like a trash can, and it's an Oklahoma Joe, and it's really easy to kind of set up and get the fire going, and literally like maintain the same temperature level the entire time. So I can put a pork butt on for 10 hours and maintain like 220 to 240 degrees, and it doesn't even move. So it's fantastic. It's easy, right? It's simple. And then you get that like really good barbecue out of it too. So lucky I find the right smoker, because the Traeger's not it for me. I'm not a Traeger guy.
Yeah, you just would have told me all that in German. But yeah,
All right, well, let's.
what you did say about the pellets is what I hear folks say often, is that if you have one of those pellet cookers, you don't have a smoker. People make fun of those.
It's not, man. It's good for like soft, like chicken and like meatloaf or something like that. But like if you're doing like brisket or like a pork butt or something, I like a heavier smoke profile on my barbecue. So like for me, it doesn't give me what I want out of it. So definitely I'm glad I have two. So it's been good. So, but let's talk about something you do know a little bit about. Let's talk about the Niners really quick, right? And
oh my God! Oh my God!
Come on, a little bit before we get in. We got to get in, right?
Oh,
Let's talk about dogs first, right? Because I want to give the dogs the credit, right? So you guys beat you. So I'm a UMass fan, as you probably found out last week when I was texting you on Instagram. We held our own versus UGA for a little bit, but you guys are helter skelter this year. You guys have some good games, some bad games. What is it about UGA this year?
okay. So how long have you been in Georgia?
Got a while, man. I'm talking 97. 97 I moved.
Oh, okay. Well, you might not be a Georgia fan, but you know the name Mark Richt.
Oh gosh, yeah. I know Mark Richt. Yeah, absolutely.
Any Georgia fan is going to know exactly what I'm talking about. We haven't had to deal with this since Kirby's been there. We're back into the Mark Richt times where you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know if the team's going to come out like their hair's on fire. You don't know if they're going to come out flat. You don't know if they're going to wet the bed in a big game or wet the bed against a shitty team. That's what we used to have to deal with consistently with Mark Richt, and we haven't had that since Kirby's been there. This year, it's that all over again. And just look at the teams that didn't score 20 points against Georgia, and then UMass sitting there scored 21 points against Georgia, and it's like, what? You just don't know. And I told you that when you texted me about it. I was like, and then what did I say? I texted you that, and I said, straight down the field, and they scored a touchdown, first possession.
I couldn't believe it, dude. I literally could. I mean, listen, I've been a UMass fan forever. Basketball, football, hockey, the whole 9 yards, because I grew up there, right? And it's like, so I had free tickets to the game, but with kids and everything, I just didn't have time to go do all that stuff. So when we were watching it, where did we go? We had something going on I had to go do. I forget what it was. But anyways, I watched like the first couple of drives before I went to the car and started listening to it. And like, we literally marched on the field. And right? We literally marched down the field. And I'm like, what in the hell is this? I'm like, this is not the UMass Minutemen that I'm aware of. Like, I expected you guys to be trouncing us, tackling, sacking. You guys had a ton of missed tackles on that first drive and everything, man. It was crazy.
Welcome to a 2024 dog fan's life. And now I don't know if I've told you this, because I talked to everybody about Georgia because they know I'm a big Georgia fan, but now we found out that we clinched the daggum SEC championship game berth, which a lot of us don't even want. We don't care about because the team's already beat up. Now we got to go play in a worthless game and get even more beat up. And we know how the committee. I don't trust the committee. We go in there, we lose that game to a really good Texas A&M. Some say that we still should make the playoff based on our strength of schedule, but I don't trust the committee. We see how they've already dropped us before. I'm like, so we're going and playing in a worthless game. That what do we gain from it? Like, I really would rather have played in the first round, hosted a game possibly, and because that's probably not going to be as good a team as we're going to face in the SEC. I'm sorry. People call that SEC bias, but. Well, I mean, just ask Texas. Well, not Texas this year, but Oklahoma can tell you about that. But
yep. Yep. I mean, you guys should have a pretty high seed too, I would think, going into the playoffs, which means you have an easier team, right? That has a better record probably. I would imagine they're going to seed everybody. I saw the first playoff thing that came out, and you guys were seeded relatively high, but who'd you guys have? I think it was Indiana or somebody. I think you guys were playing against.
It wasn't
a team that you're going to be worried about.
I was about to piss a lot of Yankees off. Put us in a bracket where we have to go play. They always talk about that, about the SEC teams, about going playing up north in the snow, blah blah blah. Not Georgia this year, because we don't run the ball very well this year. That's another problem. Oh my God, you got me started about Georgia. But Indiana hasn't played anybody. They ain't even played a team as good as UMass. They ain't played nobody. Penn State ain't played nobody. The only team either one of them played was Ohio State. That's it. The only good team they played, and Ohio State beat both of them. Ask Ohio State what happened last time they played Georgia. Well, that thing was beautiful. That missed kick, and it landed right the time the Peach dropped. New Year's Eve. Oh, that was a beautiful thing.
It's a good way to start your year, right?
Yeah, but that's like I tell folks, I'm not a little stitious. I'm superstitious. So now I've just jinxed Georgia will have to go play in the snow at Indiana, and Indiana beat the tar out of us. That's what'll happen. It'll be my fault.
Indiana, I should say, the snow balances everything out, right? I mean, it doesn't favor either team, I don't believe. I think it's a balance, if anything. So let's talk about snow games. Rumor has it for our Niners this Sunday night, it's going to be a snow game up in Buffalo. So being a Niners fan this year is pretty rough right now.
Well, I don't know.
What are your thoughts?
I wish I had something white right here with me. I'd wave it for you, because Brock didn't play in last week's game, did he?
No, he didn't.
Yeah,
Brandon Allen started with a broken finger, and then I'm like, we have Dobbs. I'm like, what is Dobbs like? Why is he on the bench? I mean, he looked fantastic in the preseason, so I have no idea why the hell Brandon Allen started last week.
But McCaffrey played. McCaffrey comes back, and he comes back, and then they said, I used to be a little more active in the Facebook 49er groups, but I'm not as active in them as much now. But I did see some articles where they were suggesting that it was them giving up. We'd have to win like 6 out of 7 games or something like that. The division's not very good. I guess we could win the division, but haven't we lost to every single team? Probably lost, if I remember right, to every division foe, but we had a lead in the fourth quarter that we give up, that's the crazy part to me. The defense for the 49ers. Oh my God.
It's bad, man. It's really bad.
It really is.
The other thing I keep seeing too is like Jordan Mason. He got a few touches last week, and even when he did, he got 11-yard runs and so on and so forth. But they're not even giving him the ball anymore. So I'm like, I understand Christian coming back, but Christian's a multi-purpose weapon, right? Go put him out in the slot. Put Mason in the backfield and let Mason run it, or give yourself some options to do something with all that talent. But Jordan doesn't even see the field anymore. I'm like, what the hell's Kyle doing, man? I have no idea.
Tell me it's not a crazy year for the 49ers. It is wild.
It is.
It's actually unbelievable if you actually sit down and think about it and you look at the stats. It's not uncanny. It's unbelievable.
Yep. And now they're saying too that we should, like you said, you should tank the rest of the games. So we end up having like a top, 8 to 12 pick in the next year's draft, instead of drafting, offense like we have been the last couple of years. Draft some defensive players and start rebuilding defense and O-line.
Can they draft defensive coordinators?
Yeah, dude, Sorensen is not it, man. I don't get it. I do not get it at all.
We went from 2 great ones, like they were really, really good, to now just absolute trash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Wilkes wasn't good either. Neither is Sorensen. Our 2 was Saleh. Saleh's available. Hell, bring Saleh in next year. But I think he wants probably a head coaching job. He deserves one, to be honest with you. The Jets should have never let him go. And then D'Amico's fine where he's at. He's not coming back. But yeah, those are our 2 guys that we shouldn't have let go at all.
Yeah.
So. All right, man. So what are you drinking tonight? So we've talked for 14 minutes about football and Thanksgiving. What are you drinking tonight? What do you got in front of you? You told me you had a couple bottles.
I didn't know what we were going to end up doing or what you would want to do, so I just kind of just thought like, well, maybe I should grab a bourbon, maybe I should grab a rye, and maybe I should grab a rum. And I know you're into tequilas, and I always look on the tequila aisle every time I go in, but I never leave with anything. I think I have 2 bottles of tequila, and I didn't even think about getting either one of them. But so I had. Do you want me to tell you what they are?
Yeah, what you got? What you got? Yeah, let's talk
All right, so
about them.
so the bourbon one I struggled with because I have so daggone much, but
Yep.
I ended up getting a Foundation.
There you go. That's
100 proof. Yes. I mean, it's solid as it gets. I think they're like 55 bucks a bottle. I'm like,
Yep.
that's a good one. And then now I did grab a couple of ryes, and then I said, nah, I'm just going to just get this is probably my favorite rye.
Dude, listen, I hate everything double oak in the world. That's the only double oak. Yeah.
I remember you telling me that.
Spirit rye. Yeah, that double oak's fantastic, man. And for
it really is
$55, I think it is.
Yeah, they I was telling you earlier before we started about my coworkers. One of them he's into the whiskeys a little bit, not as bad as I am, but I turned him on to the got the little aged in ore sample kit, and when we go work out of town, I'd take little samples or whatever and share with him, and he really liked the Sagamore Double Oak that I'd brought, so he tries to find a bottle now. When he goes into stores, he's always looking. And he's given, I think, as much as like 70, 75 for it. But I'm like, dude, that's usually like $59.99, which is, and I think it's 90. It's a low proofer too, like 94, 95, 96.6. So 96.6. So that's actually pretty good. 92 is a little too low for me at times, but 95, 96, that's a good spot.
Yeah, that's a killer rye, dude. That bottle's freaking delicious for that.
Really is fantastic.
All day. What's the rum you got?
And then the rum, and I have their XO, but this is the Richland Rum 20-year anniversary.
How is that? I see those on occasion. I've not pulled the trigger on it. How is it?
It's good. It's surely you've had Richland Rum's regular rum, right? Yep. Yeah, it's probably that. To me, it's maybe a little bit smoother because I usually actually, I don't. When it went out, I didn't get another one, but I had a bottle of their regular 86 proof. But of course, I got the cask strength rum, so I'm normally sipping that, and that's 100 proof. So when I go to that, maybe that's what it is. Why I think it's smoother, but it just seems like it's not as rough around the edges, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But it's pretty good. And I just recently, within the last couple of months, picked up that new XO that they dropped. Either this year, wasn't it earlier this year when they dropped it? I think it was, but I hadn't cracked it yet.
You haven't cracked it yet?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Not the new XO. Now
know how it is.
Now that 20 year, yeah, I cracked it. I got that. I actually got that one from the distillery when I went in 21. Seems so long ago now.
That's cool. Yeah, yep. I see it occasionally. I've never bought it, or I've never pulled the trigger on it. I see it occasionally. There's a couple stores actually around me, I think, that actually has it. It's a pretty bottle, dude.
Yes, it is. That is a sexy bottle.
Yeah, coloring on it is nuts too.
And it's got the glass topper.
Yeah, we've been to the one in Richmond. So those of you who don't know, Richland Rum is based out of Georgia, and they grow all their own sugarcane. Right? They have their own sugarcane, and they grow their own and distill rum from it. There's a location in Brunswick that I've been to. It had when we went in Brunswick, it had just opened. So it was still brand new. And then we've gone to the actual one in wherever Richland. It is in central Georgia. In Richland, is it in Richland? Yeah. Okay, all right. So we went.
It's in Southwest Georgia.
Okay. Yeah, we did that and stayed in Columbus for a long weekend. My wife did that for one of my birthday celebrations, so that was pretty cool too. That's a cool place. It really is. Richland's a cool little town.
So you being more into rum, you'll know about this. So this was early on in my whiskey, rum, spirits, journey. But went and checked out the distillery there, in Richland, and I knew that agricole is made from fresh cane juice. And I knew that regular, all of your mostly, I don't even know the percentage, probably 90% of the rums that people see or even more is made from molasses, which is a byproduct or whatever of the sugar refinement process. So when I go to Richland, because of the climate, they can't grow sugarcane year round like most places that produce rum do. So they have to harvest all of their sugarcane all at once before the frost comes in and kills it. So of course they don't make agricole. So what do? Well, they make syrup, as some people call it. I don't know where I got the syrup thing from. Everybody in the South calls it syrup, but I say syrup. I'm from the South, but I don't know where I got that from. But they actually make sugarcane syrup, and they've got it in the big totes, and then they just use that to ferment and make rum whenever they want to. And I thought that was pretty cool. So it's not technically an agricole, but it's not your traditional either. It's kind of in between. So that's pretty
Yep.
neat.
Yeah, they make the syrup you can bring home with you. We bought some for
Mm-hmm.
my father-in-law, and he put it on his biscuits. He's like, "This is the greatest damn thing ever." So,
Yeah. Yeah, I need to get some of their coffee beans that they do in the barrels.
oh, I didn't know they did that, dude. That'd be
Yeah.
awesome. Hell
Yeah, and I like
man.
coffee too. So yeah, I'm surprised I've never gotten any.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome. That'd be awesome. That'd be really cool.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, let me ask you some questions. We won't dive into the big ones, but first, let's learn a little bit about you, right? So, how did you get started in this whiskey? And I would like to know too, right? When I say this, like, did you start with whiskey like I did, and then go to rum? Like, how did your journey start? So, start from the beginning, but then talk me through even like how you got an Instagram and all those kind of things.
The Instagram thing's pretty easy. I got put in Facebook jail. so, so you don't have the Facebook resource, So like, well, shit. I guess I'll get on Instagram then. And I spent more time on Instagram because I think at that point it was like a whole week. And imagine going a whole week without Facebook. So I was like, well, shit. I guess I'm on Instagram. And the funny story about that is my two. We don't have any children, but my brother has two girls, and they're grown now. But this is years ago. They had a basically, so I didn't make it, but Facebook sent me a notification because I guess they own Instagram and all that. So they made me an Instagram, but I never used it. So with Bickley, our oldest cat, everybody kept telling me I would always share pictures and videos and stuff on Facebook, and everybody kept telling me he needs his own page. He needs his own page. Well, that was the page that I was using on Instagram. And then I was like, well, if I'm going to do this whiskey thing, just start posting cocktails and stuff, I need to have my own to do that. So that's where the Mr. Given on Instagram, that's where that all stemmed from. But the way I got into the whiskey is actually pretty funny too, because I mean it stemmed from, I really wouldn't drink much. Like it would just be beer, and I pretty much would go all year and not drink beer unless we were like hanging out with friends at an event, something like that. Except for football season. Well, I would drink when the dogs was playing, and I tend to be a happy drinker. So if the dogs ain't doing well, if the 49ers ain't doing well, I won't even drink anymore. I'll just kind of just be mad and sulk and don't enjoy myself. Well, if they're winning, I get another drink, and then I get another drink, So, and it turns into every time. So we went to a Sandals in Jamaica for our 10-year anniversary, and my wife she graduated pharmacy school that year. And while we were there, I drunk the shit out of Red Stripe. I mean, I drunk Red Stripe. Oh my God, I probably about cleaned them out in the first 2 or 3 days. And I've always liked Michael Jackson, and I've always liked Billie Jean. Well, they done Michael Jackson. It was the white night where everybody does the white whatever. So the line, I went a few times to the, because I'm drinking them Red Stripes, and I went a few times to the bathroom, and I'm waiting in line. Finally, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go straight down this hall. It ain't going to take me much longer. I go to my room, walk in, pee, come right back. Well, I went to pee one time, and I missed them playing Billie Jean on the steel drums. So I was like, there has got to be. Now, that was back in 2011. So this is still a good few years gap between. And it happened to be at the end of COVID, but that's just coincidental, had nothing to do with COVID. But at some point, I come to the realization I can't keep drinking beer. It makes you bloated. You get full. And me being diabetic, there's carbs in it. So you have the issue with, do you bolus for the carbs? Because then the way the body processes the alcohol, it make my sugar drop later. So that whole thing. And I'm like, there's got to be a better way. I'm like, maybe I should just try some cocktails. And we had just come back from a cruise not long before then where I had tried a bunch of different cocktails. And I'm like, maybe I can, make some of these at home. So that's actually what got me into whiskey. And my wife actually bought the first bottle of whiskey that was ever in our house that we purchased, which was Buffalo Trace, because I just seen it on on one of those random lists that you see, and it says, this is, the quintessential bourbon. This is the quintessential whiskey for, if you want to make an old fashioned or whatever cocktail that has bourbon in it. So that was the first bottle. And then I think the second one was she got a Knob Creek rye because, those same articles about, well, if you want smoky and you want spicy, then you might want to get a rye and try it in this. And I actually do prefer a rye now in an old fashioned over a bourbon most often. And
same, buddy. Same.
Yep.
Yep.
So that's that. So to wrap everything up, that's pretty much how I got into it. And then it turned into, and I tell people this story that aren't into whiskey and don't understand how I drink, high proof whiskey neat. I'm like, the first time, and I think this was, and I don't know what you call it. I have those moments where I can't think of the word. I call them brain farts, but whatever the word is, I guess epiphany. But I think we might have been in the camper, and I had some Maker's Mark in the glass, and I had drank all of it, and there was nothing left. And I must have went to another room, or I went outside or something, and I come back, and it smelled like a bakery, like literally smelled like a bakery. And I was like, oh my God, what is that? Like, somebody's making bread and cookies. Like, what's going on here? And then I walked back by where the glass was, and I smelled the glass, and I was like, oh wow, that I think was the light bulb moment for me. And I've always been another one of those times where I can't think of the word inquisitive. I just have a natural inquisitive nature, and I was like, why does it? And I didn't know it was weeded. I didn't know Maker's Mark was a weeded bourbon. I just knew everybody drank Maker's Mark. Maker's Mark's a good one because I think at the time I had got the Buffalo Trace. I had got that Knob Creek. Of course, you have to get a Jack Daniels and you have to get a Maker's Mark, right? And then I probably got a Jim Beam too, because that's the ones everybody talks about.
Yep.
So that's and if I went back and looked at, because I think I was in a Facebook group when I was posting this stuff to begin with. That's probably one of my first posts was those. I guarantee you, a Maker's Mark, Jack Daniels, the Knob Creek, the Buffalo Trace, those lined up. Jim Beam, like, who is Evan Williams? I didn't know who Evan Williams was. Who's Evan Williams? Everybody knows who Jack Daniels and Jim Beam are, And I did make the mistake of getting the what's the Scotch that's red?
Oh, Johnny Walker.
Johnny Walker.
I'm sorry.
Oh yes, and let me tell you, man, and that might be my problem with Scotch now, because that was like a wet ashtray. And I was like, and I still say that even some of the good ones, the better ones that I've tasted, I still get the Band-Aid and the rubbery, and it's not as bad as the ashtray. But that one right there, that's just, I don't see how people drink that stuff. That's just trash to me.
I think they only say the only good Johnny Walker is the Blue Label, and I've never even had a Blue Label one before. I can't imagine it's good. Not a big Johnny Walker fan. There's better quality peated like whiskeys out there if you're looking for them. Johnny Walker's not the one.
Yeah, actually, I got that's what it was. I got an old fashioned, of course. That's, if you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen where I've posted it. If it's on the menu, I'm going to try it. So they had multiple old fashions listed on the menu, and one of them was with a peated Scotch, and I was like, okay, I'll try that. I actually liked it. I didn't think that I would like it, but I'll try anything. I have a little saying that I'll try anything once, but one thing, and dudes can think of what that one thing is, and that's not something you try. But it's like Rodney Carrington said, you don't put ketchup on that and just try it.
Exactly.
But I will try things. I'll try new things, and that I was like, let me try that and see. And I was surprised. I actually did like it. And then the next one I got was just your traditional old fashioned, and I was like, shoot, I like the smoky one better, the one with the peated Scotch in it.
So that's like me with mezcal. So like I started to learn about mezcal from a cocktail, and I had tried it, and it had that smoky. So it was like a pineapple and smokiness to it, with bitters and everything too. It was kind of like an old fashioned, but with a little fruit juice in there as well. And man, I really liked it. I was like, okay, this is different. It's unique, right? It's not overbearing, and it balances well with the sweetness and the tartness and everything like that. So I can see how you would have liked that with a Scotch in an old fashioned. I can understand that part of it. Yeah, definitely. So that's cool. That's cool. So yeah, looking at your Instagram now, right? So like you've obviously come a long way since the beginning. I mean, you've got 3,000 followers now, 1,500 posts, bro. I don't know how I didn't know you had 1,500 posts. You have almost 1,600 posts. So like, what's your evolution look like, right? What's your growth look like? Like, how has it been over the years creating content and doing these things?
Well, as far as the growth, I mean, I guess. And anybody that asks me about this stuff that I talk to, like it's legit a hobby. Like I don't ever want it to feel like it's work, like it's something that I'm obligated to do, that I have to do. So when I do post, it's because I choose to. It's because I want to. I actually enjoy it. And if you follow me, you've seen all the little, props that I get, because wife and I like to go antiquing, and we're always looking, and she gets into it too. She'll try to find things because she likes to do arts and crafts stuff. Her daddy was a painter. So I guess it's in her blood, but she'll find little things. She'll be like, here, what about this? And the chair thing, I use
the
the
mini chair. Yes. The mini
yes,
chairs, man. Yeah. Yes.
and all of that stuff's packed up from where we moved last year. And then we knew we were moving again. So we left a lot of stuff packed up, a lot of the boxes. We never even cut the tape on them. And then we just moved it again to the new house. So it's all in there in the whiskey room that I haven't gotten to and addressed yet. And I've got grandiose ideas for what I want to do in there, and if it comes to fruition, it's going to be pretty nice. But yeah, there's chairs and boxes there. We've got some of them opened up now, and I've been digging through and getting some of the stuff out. But I wouldn't be surprised if I didn't have at least 20 or 30 chairs at this point, like just different chairs, little smaller ones, bigger ones. Like we just recently found one that's just going to get posted here soon. It's a Christmas themed one that we just recently found but it's a taller one. So I'll probably, try to be strategic and use like a taller bottle with it, not a little small bottle. But I actually do enjoy, trying to figure out where should I post this? How should I post that? Should I do it outside? Should I do it inside? Like my post today, that was a really good shot because I done a new office desk. And I've been in here in the office getting it set up, and I was rearranging some stuff, and I was like, this is going to be a really good spot. I can put a glass. So people are going to see that, and if they listen to this, they'll now know. But you'd think I was sophisticated by looking at that picture.
Dude, that pic. So when I saw it come across, so I'm looking at it now. So it's the James E. Pepper decanter bottle, the new one that came out. It's over to the left, and then you've got like a crystal globe behind it. You've got your glass with a nice wooden coaster. Everything color wise is really cool. Like everything's brown with like the desk and the book, but you got gray pops in it. Like literally, it looks like an artist like put this thing together, man. It's legit, dude. I mean, like literally, that's a fantastic picture.
I have my moments.
That artistic quality. I look at something, I'm like, cool. I'll just post it next to a damn picture of a plant or outside with the leaves or something like that. Like you guys all like, I don't know. You guys all have this talent that I seek to have. So it's really unique to see the way that you guys do these things and come up with everything. And I think that's part of the beauty for me with Instagram is the creativity behind everything that everybody does. Right. It takes time. You obviously put some thought into it. Like everything was placed like real. I mean, dude, like everything's placed like perfectly. It looks like you spent an hour setting this whole thing up, to be honest with you. You're like, no, it took me 5 minutes.
Well, if I brought the phone around, I'm sitting at the desk now, that all of that stuff is there. That's just how I kind of, set it up or whatever. And I've actually got 2 bookers sitting right there, that come in the nice wooden. I'm like, those just look nice, so when somebody comes in the front door, they're going to see this and be like, okay, that's cool. He's got the cross. So he's Christian. He obviously, what are these, if somebody knows me, like, oh, well, he's obviously into bourbon, and that's a good bourbon. That's a nice bourbon. So then there again, they'll think I'm sophisticated. Little do they know.
None of us are sophisticated. None of us. So how'd you get into rum?
Oh, the rum thing. That's probably Sealbox's fault. And
okay,
Lord, I've spent a small fortune on Sealbox, and I'll be at work and I'll be looking at my phone, which I generally don't, and somebody might say something, and then I'll say something like what I'm reading, and then like about a mash bill, and because there's some of them they don't care about the spirits and stuff. Some of my coworkers, and As soon as they'd be like, "Oh God, he's going to buy another bottle of something," I'm like, "Well, I might. Depends. Like, let me read about this pick." And they're constantly sending me emails and text messages, and they always have stuff. And I guess, which if you looked at my collection, it's probably 80%, maybe more, small craft. And
Okay.
I even do that when I go into stores now. I would prefer to get something when we go on vacation, we go on trips. I'll try to find something local, just for that reason. Now, it doesn't always work out. Now, there's been times it's been a big miserable fail because you trust a little small distillery in Nowhereville. I'm not going to say any names, and then you try something, and it was the one I'm thinking of was actually recommended. I actually asked the people at the store, and they was like, "Oh yeah, we sell that all the time." Now all I'm wondering is who the hell do they have coming in that store buying that crap? Because they probably drink that Johnny Walker Red too. But I'm bad about getting off on tangents and ranting, and I've got off on one, and I don't remember what the topic was. You're gonna have to get me back in line.
We're talking
A
about rum. How'd
rum.
you get into rum? Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I do remember.
You blame Sealbox first, so hey, plug for Sealbox
Yeah,
for you spending about a small fortune on it there.
absolutely. Because the bottle I'm thinking of is because I drink it. I drink it neat now too. I don't like. This is how bad it is with me drinking things neat. When it's cold outside, I told my wife I'm gonna have to get me like a candle warmer or something on the back patio when I have my fire going. I'm gonna have
It
to get
gets
me a
cold.
can. Yeah, and then I don't like the taste of it as much, and I don't want to bring it inside and then me have to go inside and get it and come back out. I'm like, I'm gonna need to get like a candle. So maybe somebody can let me know on Instagram. Somebody else has had to have had this problem. What do you do when you're outside in the colder weather and you've got your glass and you don't want it to get cold with the ambient temperatures being 40 degrees?
Yeah,
What's the
I don't
solution? There's
know.
got to be a solution.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I was even noticing that the other day when I was having a cigar outside. Because you're right, like if you bring out a bottle and you sit outside, and I like doing it in the cooler weather. I'd rather smoke when it's 30, 40, 50 degrees outside and be bundled up than do it when it's 90 degrees outside. But yeah, you
Absolutely.
sit out there with a pour and a cigar, and you're right, man. That pour gets cold, and you're just like, it's like you're having it on ice, and you're like, you lose flavor with it getting cold as well. So it's a different. It changes the profile of the pour that you have. So definitely. So yeah, so you need to come up with a way to invent like a Glencairn warmer or something, or a glass
Yeah.
warmer to make sure that your bourbon stays warm, just warm enough, not too hot, not too cold, just even temperature.
Maybe somebody's artistic with the hook needle thing. They can knit me a Georgia sweater for my Glencairn. That's what I need.
We're gonna sell Glencairn sweaters on Etsy this year.
Yeah. But to get back on topic, I remember, and I want to say it's Lawerys, Lowry's, I guess is how you would say it, but it's out of Boston. It's a
Okay.
rum from Boston, and
Okay.
I had got it from Silbox, and when I tasted it, this is back years ago in my very early on in my journey, and I was like, yeah, that probably needs ice, and I remember I put it on ice. I had the silicone thing that done the square cubes, so I got one of them, and I drank it on ice, and I did that for a little while, and then I finally just decided I'm going to try it, neat like I do all my whiskeys. Because I've never drank the whiskeys or the bourbons or anything like that on ice. In a cocktail would be the only way I'd drink that on ice. But now I drink all my rums neat too. And the rum thing is what probably really entrenched me is I distinctly remember Privateer and Richland, both of them
Mm,
Silbox, because where I'm from in rural South Georgia, the stores don't have crap, man. They've got all your garbage, Bacardi and Captain Morgan, that kind of nonsense. So Silbox has been an incredible resource for me. But I distinctly remember with both Privateer and with Richland, when I tasted those rums, I was like, this is a lot like bourbon. It's like somebody put a little bit of rum in my bourbon, or a little bit of bourbon in my rum in my bourbon, however you want to say that. And it's because they use new barrels. They use new oak barrels just like bourbon does. So it gets a lot of those same influences. And that's probably what entrenched it for me because I've tried with the tequilas and I do like tequila neat. But like I say, I go in the stores and I'm always looking and I've got I forget what it's called, the app that tells you if it's additive free. Got the
tequila
little,
matchmaker. Yep.
that's it. Got the little
Yep.
logo. Yeah, I'm in there. A distributor, he didn't like it. I was in there one day, and distributors, they'll come over if they see you reading bottles and looking on your phone. He struck up a conversation with me, and I ended up talking to him. Imagine me, everybody that knows me know I like to talk, so I get to carrying on conversations with a stranger. But we was probably in there for an hour and a half talking, and he did not like the fact that I was using that app. And he was like, "But what does that mean? Because somebody probably just pays them to put that on there." And I was like, "Look, man, I don't know how true that is, but I know people on Instagram that I trust that have said that this is a what's the word, trusted resource. It's
Yeah,
credible.
absolutely. Yep.
So this is what I go by. And when I went worked out of town on a trip with work and went to a little event, and they had this twisty bottle that everybody was raving about. Oh, you got to try this tequila. This tequila is so good. It's so good. I tried it, and they all were looking at me. And when I nosed it, they were like, "What the fuck is this guy doing?" I was like, "Well, I mean, I'm nosing it." And then one of my coworkers was like, "He's into bourbon. That's what they do. They nose it and then they taste it." And I taste it, and I was like, "God, how much sugar is in this shit?" And they all loved it because it tasted like sugar water to them. I'm like, "That's not tequila. That's sugar water is what that is."
Yep.
But
you should nose your tequila. I mean, to be honest with you, even like so good tequila, you should nose it. So I mean, it's every tequila is different. Even blancos. Like I mean, I can set you up with 4 different blancos, and I'll guarantee you every single blanco tastes completely different than the other one, and that's what kind of makes it. And that's no aging, so 0 aging at all, fresh off the still, throw it in a bottle, right? And it's because of the terroir and the dirt of what they grow it in. It's also the spring water that they use, the way that they cook the agave and everything. So yeah, man, knows the hell out of it, man. You're supposed to. It's you can appreciate it just like a bourbon, whether it's unaged blanco or whether it's lightly aged like the reposado or something like that. It's definitely is just like a bourbon.
Absolutely.
So, yeah,
and the nosing, it's part of the full sensory, it complements. It just seems natural to me now, but you see where people make the videos, they post them on Instagram where, like they get a glass of water and they're nosing it like it. I really do end up nosing a lot of things, which I've always been that way anyway. My daddy, he's the guy that raised us, but he always thought that I was smelling my food, but I wasn't smelling my food. I would just do my face to see, how hot it was, the temperature of it.
Okay.
But he always made a joke, and I'm like, if he only knew now, that I'm sitting here nosing, everything.
Yeah, man, and yeah, don't drink Casamigos. Don't drink any of that shit tequila. Just drink good tequila if you finally get.
And see, every single time I go, what's the one that The Rock owns?
Oh, Terramana garbage.
Yeah, every time I go in a store, I see Casamigos and that Terramana, and then there's a couple of others, and then they always have the little fancy whatever things that's just a ripoff because it's got the same cheap shit in it,
Yeah.
But yeah, I never see any of the good stuff that y'all always talk about.
I need to send you. I actually have a little rum surprise for you that I have to send to you. I was shipped multiple of something, and I was told to keep it and share it with somebody else that appreciates rum. So I have 2 rum surprises coming your way that you have no idea about, but I'll share them with you. And I'll throw some sample bottles. I know I told you I threw you sample bottles of tequila in there too, but I'll throw you some samples of tequila, and I'll give you a good mix of like some reposados that are lightly aged in barrels, and I'll send you some blancos as well, and I'll send you a couple I'll say the thing with it too is with tequila is that you have for me, you have your 2 different types. You've got your citrusy, peppery ones, and then you have your vegetal ones is like green pepper, jalapeno, a little bit of that flavor. So for me, I don't ever get a tequila that has that green pepper note and the citrus note. It's one or the 2, and there's a lot of other flavors that you get out of it as well. So I'll send you some tequila that you should be able to find, like Tequila Ocho and Lalo, El Tesoro. Lalo's fantastic.
Lalo Blanco, dude. That's my go-to if I make a margarita here at the house. Love that stuff.
$45, man. It's ridiculous. And the new high proof just came out too.
Oh, I seen that.
Absolutely outstanding.
I was wearing the names out trying to do that giveaway. I was like, oh man, if I can win this one, because back in the day, man, I won a bunch of stuff doing those giveaways on Instagram. I won all kinds of stuff. Yes, shit. Bro. Off the top of the only reason I have a bottle of Blanton's is because I won it on Instagram, and it was a pick.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because man, I've seen Blanton's in the stores. I see them all the time, and there's no way I'm paying $150 for damn Blantons. I ain't that
No,
guy.
no,
But
no,
yeah,
no.
but
Nobody
yeah,
should be that guy.
I actually have what was oh God, I'm trying to think because it's been several years now because I haven't won anything in a while. Uh, Red Hills Bourbon, he's doing a little giveaway
Oh
thing where
yeah.
he's got a little swag pack. I actually have a Yeti that's got Red Hills Bourbon on it. Uh, that name, I don't, no, I don't have a glass. It's a Yeti tumbler, a 20 ounce. But I got samples from him that I won on that giveaway. But yeah, and I've won several of those. Oh my God, man, I wouldn't be scared to say off the top of my head at least a dozen things I've won, and several of them full
Wow.
bottles that I've gotten. Yeah.
That's crazy. I don't win shit, so congrats to you, man.
Well, that was back whenever I was going through the thing where it was, like it's been the Instagram thing's been stagnant now. I've been sitting at 3,000 whatever. Like I get a few here, a few there, a few will drop off. It comes and goes. But back in the day, man, that thing was I was like, shit, 27 people follow me. Okay. And then all of a sudden it was 200 people and I was like, hey, 200 weird ass people out there. What are they thinking? And then because now my content is actually a lot better. Like I do videos and stuff sometimes. I do my reels. I don't know. I still a little people make some really nice reels, and I just put my stuff together and then just do them and then put some music. And I don't really like spend a lot of time doing them. But
Yep.
so the camera's sitting here on the desk. So I bought a
Are
nice
you
camera.
using a camera? Are you really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, if anybody knows about photography, it's a Canon 90D. Yeah,
Okay.
90D. And it's still on the friggin' auto mode.
Okay. You'll learn how to use the actual you'll learn how to use the auto mode. I bought one a while ago and
Well,
learned how to use it. I haven't used it for pictures yet, but you'll start learning how to use it.
there are times that so here where we moved to, it's been I mean when we first moved here last year, I was because we work 4 10s in the new job, so I'm off on Fridays.
Wow.
I
Okay.
was going hiking every Friday. Now I hadn't
Okay.
been hiking as much with the move and trying to get stuff done at the house, and then work's been crazy too. But there's all kinds of hiking potential for me here where we're at now. So, and years ago I started taking the camera with me whenever I would go hiking to take pictures. I've always kind of had a knack for taking pictures of certain things, and I'd always just use my phone. So that's where the high proof hikes come from is I would always take bottles with me because I would do whiskey in the wild Wednesday. So I would always have bottles with me and I'd take pictures just at random places, when I was out hiking. And but to go back to it being on, I'll flip that thing to the manual mode sometimes because here they have there's a couple of spots where there's some waterfalls, a couple of spots where there's some dams, and where you can make the waterfall look smoky,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
shut
yeah.
the shutter speed. Yeah, so I'll go
Yep.
in and I'll manipulate those, and I'll try to do a little bit, but I don't really spend enough time learning about I just have that natural eye for what do they call it, the how you've got your grid, the threes, and you want it not to be in the center, something
Yeah, I'm
like
glad you've
that.
got that, buddy. I'm glad you got that. I
I,
don't.
I just know that because photographers have told me that, and then ones that actually have had like formal photography, like training, went to classes and stuff.
Hmm.
They've actually mentioned about I forget what they call it, but in my pictures, the way it's set up, how I capture certain things, there's a word that they use for it. I've just always kind of just naturally kind of been that way, and it's gotten now, having a nicer camera, and I use the Lightroom app that if you do you know Tom and Karen Whiskey Wine and Design?
No, I don't even think I follow them. No.
Oh, dude,
Okay,
my
I gotta
whiskey
look them
throne
up now.
yeah, my whiskey throne that I use that's made out of the staves.
Yeah.
He they can't be far from you. They're Flowery Branch. How far are you from Flowery
Oh,
Branch?
a while. Yeah, because I'm over in Canton, so I'm like literally here and here. So I'm opposite sides of the state. So Flowery Branch is probably hour and a half for me.
Oh yeah, that's close to me though. Yeah. So funny story about that. Go up to Atlanta with the new job, and my supervisor he mentioned Forest Park, and
Oh, okay.
I was like, oh okay, but yeah, but we're still in Atlanta. He was like, no, that's Forest Park, and I was like, no, I'm pretty sure that's still Atlanta. And then I had to explain to him, dude, I come from a town that had one traffic light, like I don't care if you drive an hour from downtown Atlanta. That's still Atlanta to
Still
me.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
I'm still Atlanta where I'm at, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So when you say hour and a half, I'm like, man, everything where I'm from, like it wasn't nothing. You go to town, it's 30 minutes. If you wanted to go to we didn't have a Home Depot. You had to go to an hour and a half for a Home Depot where I used to live.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and now the Home Depot's 30 minutes for me, but because we don't have a local one, but still, like, so when you say hour and a half, I'm like, oh yeah, that ain't nothing.
Yeah, I mean, when I moved to Georgia, it's funny because like growing up in Massachusetts, it was like everything's small town. So like you could be across the state and like I could be in Boston in an hour from where I lived in Western Mass. So here, it's funny. Everyone's like, well, how far is it? I'm like, 45 minutes to an hour. They're like, that's so far. I'm like, no, an hour is a normal distance to anything in this state and it flies by. An hour drive is nothing anymore. You blink an eye and you're there. So yeah, completely. Size of the state and how things are spread out. Definitely those longer drives, that hour drive is kind of normal for where we all live now.
Absolutely. And I drive a lot with work now. So, I mean, we cover the entire state of Georgia. So, I mean, I might be literally down in Jacksonville that's Jacksonville, Florida. And then I'll be in Atlanta the next day, sometime that week, might be in Savannah, might be in Alabama. So yeah, hour and a half. I'm like, cake.
It's nothing. It's nothing at all. Nothing at all. So with content and how it goes, right? You talked about like some of what you've been doing, and you talked about your evolution too, which I think I appreciate, right? Because I think we all kind of have evolved with this. I mean, even if I reflect back, right, my pictures and how I started to where I am now have evolved, and even with my podcast, right? You listen to early podcasts. I'm not saying I'm getting better, but I'm trying to evolve, trying to do different things, right? So like for you, like what's that evolution looked like and where do you kind of, if you look out, right, where do you see yourself kind of going forward in the future maybe?
What I worry about is that I may eventually have to accept because people have been telling me, despite my opinion on this, that I am an influencer. Because if
You gotta
anybody
just
looks
call it.
if anybody looks at the page and they're like, oh look, this guy, he posted this, he likes that, and then they go buy it, I influenced them to buy it. And I'm like, well, technically, yeah, but there's other people that like I don't get on there and tell you all the specifics about how it's made and the mash bills, and I don't do all of that stuff. Other people do very well with doing that. I just like sharing pictures. Yeah, I'll take a bottle with me when I'm hiking around in the woods and I'll drink some from it. That's good content. People like it. But I just worry that there's going to come a day that I may have to, because right now it's just like a personal Instagram. Like it's, because I see some people where it says like digital creator, they'll get the blue check. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I may eventually have to do that one day, but I guess I'm going to try to hold off as long as I can because I still want it to be just carefree, loosey goosey. It's a hobby. If I post, I post. If I don't, I don't. And the reason I have so many posts is because I generally post every day. And
Yeah.
sometimes I'll even take pictures and stuff if I know I'm going to be out of town and not be home to make the post. So then I'll have them in the back pocket ready to go. Like, boom, here's a Makers Monday post. I wasn't drinking Makers that day, y'all.
You're way more prepared than I am. Well, hey, maybe this podcast will get you over the top, mate. And you had 10,000 followers in no time flat.
Oh, God.
I doubt it, but hey, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know. So so you mentioned Whiskey in the Wild, right? And I have to applaud you for your high proof hikes and your porch pops, right? I think you're very creative with that. And something that I'm trying to get accustomed to and doing a little bit more, which I haven't done yet, but I'm trying to, is you're not shy in front of a camera, right? So you do a really great job with it. I think they're very creative. It's one of my favorite things is the high proof hikes, the porch pops thing. When you released it, I was like, that's freaking cool as well. Just you chilling on the back patio. So like, how did that all evolve, right? Did you just wake up one day and like, oh, porch pops, or I'm sitting on the back porch and I'm like, oh, it's a porch pop. Like, how did it all evolve? Like, how did you come up with the ideas?
No, that one's an easy one. That one come from I've been here at the daggum house and I hadn't been going hiking as much as I want to because I would literally. So I took when we moved up here. This will tell you how much I like hiking. When we moved up here, like I say, there's so many places. I mean, there's like Piedmont, whatever they call that, the National Wildlife, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and then the other one is Oconee or Ocoee, whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's state parks, there's other private ones. I mean, there's so many opportunities for me. So, you get vacation time, and if you don't take it, you lose it. So I had to take it at the end of the year last year, and we had just moved here in September. So I had like the week off, and I think I took a week off in around Thanksgiving, probably the week before and the week of or something like that. So I went and I hiked on the weekend like I normally would, Friday or Saturday or something like that. And I think I went on a Friday and then I went Sunday. And I was like, I've got the whole week off and my wife's got to work. Like, I'm gonna go hike all these new places. I was fascinated. I'm like, I want to go here. I want to go there. I want to go there. I want to go here. It's just like when you walk into the store and you're like, I really want to get that bottle. I want to get that bottle. But you got to be reasonable about it. So what it turned into is I'd go hike Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So then I have that day in between the break because when I go hike, sometimes depending on here, it hasn't been where I do 10 miles. Back home, I would do 10 miles like it was nothing because it's flatter. Here, it's more up and down. You got more hills. The terrain's a little bit rougher, and 6 miles feels like I've done 10 miles. But I try not to go out there. I'm not going to waste my time and go walk for 3 miles. I'm going to try to get 6 miles in. And where was we going with this? This is one of my tangents I got on.
High proof hikes and how did it start?
Oh, I wasn't going hiking as much because I had moving into the new house with all of the stuff going on. But I can go sit on my porch and pop the top, and I'm like, maybe this can be something in lieu of the high proof hikes, which I was doing. I was like, it got to a point where I was like, I can't just go and do a high proof hike every time. So I was trying to do like one a week instead of like if I went on a Friday and I went again on Saturday or Sunday somewhere, I wouldn't post a high proof hike again. I was like, I could, but I'm like, people are going to get, exhausted with that and be like, oh, it's just this guy drinking in the woods again.
Just this guy drinking in the woods, just hiking and getting drunk. Let's hope he doesn't fall down and hurt himself.
I will tell you though, y'all see the one that actually gets posted on Instagram. There have been times where I have something that's 122 proof, and I've done 3 takes. So and typically, full disclosure here, I'll eat a banana for breakfast. So I've ate a banana for breakfast. If I'm going hiking, maybe I'll eat like a protein bar or something like that. But I haven't had a big breakfast. I ain't went to Cracker Barrel and got mama's or grandma's pancakes and eggs and bacon and all that. So I ain't much in the gut. There ain't much going on in the belly. And then I'm out there, the third take, and then I'm putting everything up and I'm going back to walking. And I'm like, whew, shit, I got a little buzz going here. Like, I got to take it easy.
We need high proof hikes outtakes now. You got to save all that content.
See,
outtakes.
I've thought about that. That would actually be pretty. That would be pretty good. There you go. See, you just give me an idea.
That'd be funny as hell, man. That'd be awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Again, when we talk about creativity, I think that's why, and that's one for me. That's one of the whole reasons this whole podcast has evolved into where it's at now. I don't know if you listened to the new episode, but I did Cats, Cocktails, and Conversations a couple last week and just released that episode. And for me, when I sat down and started talking about like my evolution, right, I want to showcase other people because I'm like you, right? I can sit down, talk to anybody, shoot the shit with anybody. I'll come feed you. I'll come give you anything out of my liquor cap, my bar, whatever. Like, I'll do anything for anybody. And I said, how can I take this passion and change it into something else that I can showcase other people, right? Because we all have voices, but sometimes those voices aren't through a podcast. Sometimes they're through pictures. They're through your creativity with high proof hikes and things like that. So I said, how can I showcase somebody on the podcast to really start making this more like community? Because I'm trying to showcase everybody a little bit and have them have a little bit of their time in the spotlight. So it's pretty cool that your creativity with all of that. Mine's a little different than yours, but I appreciate that, right? I appreciate the creativity. I imagine you backpacking in with a bottle in the back wrapped up in bubble wrap or something like that, just in case you fall or whatever. But it's pretty cool the way you do it. I mean, what goes into planning for it? Do you go by a spot and go, oh, I'm going to take a picture there next time? Or do you just walk and just look for a spot with the bottle? Like what goes into planning for all those kind of things?
This is the most frustrating part of that is I keep telling myself that I'm going to find a phone mount of some sort to mount it, like that has something like a strap or something around it so I can strap it to it. Literally every time y'all see one of those videos, my phone is resting on a branch, a twig, a limb, a pine burr somewhere. Like y'all don't see the outtakes, which you give me a good idea. I might have to start posting some of those. But there have been times where I'm in the middle of it and the phone falls. Well, then guess
no
what?
way.
I've got to do it again, and I've got to take another swig. So that's a good idea about the outtakes. But yeah, no, I'll just be walking along, and I try to. I mean, I'm not going to do it in a park where people are right there.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy. So when y'all do see them, like there's nobody around. But there are times if you watch them, because while I watch them, I'll look back and they're like, I seen somebody come by, and you'll see me look over, or I'll hear something, and it might be somebody with a dog or something like that. But there's a lot of places I actually go hike at that they are incredibly secluded. Like you don't see a soul the whole time you're out there.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
shit. Those places still exist in Georgia, huh?
Oh, dude, yes. And I was just telling one of my coworkers the other day that and everybody will know this now. Everybody that listens to this podcast, listen. If I've got shot out there while I've been hiking, and I didn't have a vest on my body, it's because they took that vest off my body. Because I was wearing one of them safety vests in hunting season. Because I ain't gonna be the one that's gonna get shot for not. So I guess that might be my next high proof hike. I might have to have my safety vest on. Yeah.
The orange hat too, buddy. You gotta wear the orange hat as well.
Well, that's where the Georgia in me comes out, man.
You gotta have the Georgia hat on. Yeah.
No, it's the aversion to orange.
That's fair.
We don't. This ain't no joke. This ain't no exaggeration. We don't. Come to my house, see if you can find something orange. I bet you don't.
Anti-pumpkin then too, because you hate pumpkin orange.
No, we just ain't. We don't do a lot of that stuff anyway. We don't do the decorations and stuff like that. We don't. We used to would do a tree. Now that we got 2 cats, I don't think we're going to be doing a tree. We might here at the new house. I don't know. Slevin, the youngest cat, he would destroy it. Bless his heart. That joker's a mess. Yeah. So tell me about your cat.
Oh man, the cat. Oh man.
Yeah.
So the cat has been a battle that I have been fighting and trying to avoid for a long time. So I had pets growing up my entire life, but the older I've gotten, I've got 3 kids that are all teenagers now too. So it's like I don't want another level of responsibility on top of a house, a family, 3 kids, blah blah blah. But the kids are always like, "Hey, I want a pet. I want a pet. I want a pet." Well, my daughter. She's got a couple dogs at her mom's house, so that's kind of kept it a little quiet for a while. The boys ended up getting a dog at their dad's house, so that kept it quiet a little while. And then the wife started going, I want a cat. I want a cat. I want a cat. I'm like, all right, cool. Listen, I'm like, I have one stipulation. I'm like, first of all, we have to get it when there's time, right? You can't just get it and then leave for a vacation like a month later, right? Like you have to give it time to settle in, get it used to the house, so on and so forth. Because we wanted to adopt like an older cat. We didn't want a kitten. We didn't have to want to go through all that stuff. So I told her, I said, and I want it to be like a dog. I'm like, I said, I want it to be like a loaf. Like it just lays around. It has its own personality, can play and be energetic and all that. But I see enough Instagram reels where they're flying up the walls of the house. They're jumping from the ceiling to the floor. They're on the ceiling fans, whatever. Right? I'm like, I do not want like, or you're holding it and it just all of a sudden bites you. I'm like, I do not want a cat like that. So I'm off this week for work, and Monday I said I went golfing with my buddies on Monday, and my wife says, Monday's the day. And I said, listen, you know the rules. I'm like, I don't care what color it is. I don't care if it's male or female. Like, just get a cool cat. So they ended up going and getting a cat at shout out to Fur Kids in Cumming, Georgia. They went to Cumming they went to Fur Kids, and they walked in. My wife's like, hey, I want a cat that's like a dog. I want to hang out, lay around, not be crazy, be lovable, the whole 9 yards. They're like, we have the perfect cat. So they went back and they saw her. So her name's Ayla. She's 4 years old. She's a Manx, so she has no tail. She's a little petite thing, man, like 8 pounds. She's tiny. But man, she's pretty cool. We got her. So what, Monday? Yeah, they came home Monday evening with her, and she's been here for 48 hours. And like, already like 2 nights in a row, no issue. She slept in my daughter's room the first night. She slept underneath the bed and underneath the couch the first night. Last night she slept in my daughter's room. She hung out with my daughter and her boyfriend all day, hung out with my son in his room all day, comes to hang out with us a little bit. She sits, when we all sit at the dinner table, she sits on the floor right next to us and just kind of hangs out like a dog would. She's chill. She's lovable. She purrs wicked loud, dude. She's a cool ass cat. So I'm like, all right, thank God we got a good one. So I was like, I lost the battle. You know, I was like, finally we got one, but we got one that's cool. So I'm pretty happy with her.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah. She's pretty cool. So,
but you know, if you follow any of the cat stuff on Instagram, they call it, or Facebook, social media, I guess I should say, what do they call it? The cat distribution system. So you have this one. So the next one, because that's exactly what happened to us. We are now, but I never had a cat. I don't think my wife ever had a cat growing up. And when we got married, we had dogs. We were dog people. We had 4 dogs in the house that slept in the bed with us at one time. We was always dog folks. Well, she found a little kitten, wasn't bigger than my hand, brought it home, and that was it. We was cat folks. And then Slevin, he showed up on the porch. He was a little bit older. I think they said they thought he was like 4 or 5 months old. But he showed up on the porch and then didn't leave. And then we fed him, and now he's in the house. That's how that went. But exact opposites. Like Bickley,
really
super laid back, just lays naps all day, don't really bother anything, plays a little bit. But of course, he's 9 now, so plays a lot less anyway. Slevin, total opposite personality. Gets into everything, always getting on the daggum top of the cabinets in the kitchen. I mean, he's the one that's on the 2-story house now, and I'm like, I kept telling everybody, we're going to have to put kitty catchers. Yeah, he's the one that goes comes between the rails. I'm looking at it right here, and then he just sits there and he meows at you, and I'm like, son, just get from the edge. Like, I don't need you falling and getting hurt. Bickley, he's on the couch, or he's over here on his mat that's on top of this furniture in the window. Like, he's just going to be napping.
Just chilling.
Yeah, so you've got the first one. You're good. When the distribution system hits and another one comes up, that's going to be the wild one. That's going to be the crazy one.
Wild one. I'm gonna avoid that like the plague. I'm gonna go to battle and fight a war again, not to have a second one.
Well, that's what my wife's been talking about the last couple of days is Slevin's 3, and he likes to play, but Bickley doesn't play with him. He needs a friend. He needs one to play with. And I'm actually surprised that we've went this long now without a dog. We lost the last one in 2018, but we used to go camping a lot, and we would, if we took the dogs, you got to get up and take them out for a walk. Sometimes you got to walk them in the middle of the night. You don't have to do any of that stuff with a cat. They just use the litter box.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't want a dog. We travel. I mean, we go out too much. Like we go to Chattanooga and take weekend trips and do things with the kids, and we're just out and about way too much for a dog. And I just told her, I said, it's too much work for a dog. I'd love to have one, but it's just too much work. We're not responsible enough to be home or have somebody take care of it. I don't want to go pay for like sticking it in a pound or like a boarding office for a week or boarding or something like that. So I'm like, at least with a cat, like we've got a neighbor down the street that's a pet sitter, so we could always have her come and just check on her and stuff like that. But she's so chill. Like, we're going to my in-laws house tomorrow for Thanksgiving. I'm not even worried about her being home by herself. Like, she's so chill. She'll just probably lay around the house and do nothing. So we got lucky. I consider myself very lucky. Only 2 days in, I consider myself lucky. Yeah.
So we do the automatic feeders. We had automatic feeders when we had the dog and the cat at the same time. And now with the 2 cats, the young one, Slevin, he'll eat Bickley's food, and Bickley will let him. Bickley's just a pushover, and Slevin's a little bully. So we keep the feeders separate, and we have to keep one of them in a room to close the door. So we keep Bickley's in the room and close the door. And then when he's done, whatever he doesn't eat, because he used to graze and would come and eat as he wanted to. But you with one cat, man, you can do the automatic feeder, and you ain't got to be there. They'll just drop their food, feed them. They've got the litter box. They're good to go.
Yep. And she like I said, she's cool. So, I mean, 48 hours in, right? You think a cat, she was turned over into the system like May 1st, I think, of this year. So she's been there for a while. And I mean, 48 hours in, right? You think there'd still be quite a bit of adjustment period. I mean, she's been chilling with us all day. She like lays in lays in the couch. She'll, like I said, like hanging with my daughter. She slept with my daughter last night. She still lays under the bed a little bit. I think that protective piece of it. But I mean, other than that, man, she's been out and about. So I mean, 48 hours, she's playing already too, which is kind of cool. So I don't know. Like I told Liz, I said, you did a really good job finding the right one for us. So I'm really glad that we did that, because I did not want a nightmare cat, dude. I did not. We have one of those that's like a neighborhood roaming cat where she'll roam everywhere. Next thing you know, you look out your back door and she's sitting there staring in the window. And my kids used to pet her on the back porch and like literally just sitting there, just petting her normal. And like for 20 minutes would be fine. All of a sudden, the 21st minute, that cat would just turn around and bite them. And I'm like, the hell? I'm like, what kind of psycho cat are you that you just all of a sudden nothing changes with the way you're getting pet and you just bite them? I'm like, I don't want a cat like that in my life in any way, shape, and form.
Cats are weird, man. They are definitely different from dogs. Folks that don't have cats, they are weird critters.
Yep, it is. They are weird. All right, so let's get into an insightful question. I'm trying to figure out one. Oh, let me ask you one question. This is one that I asked Cats Conversations and Cats Cocktails and Conversations that was interesting. Instead of picking your favorite bottle, right? Favorite bottles are hard because I think I think all of us in this kind of space has appreciation for different bottles in different ways. What's been your most surprising pour? Recently, long term, whatever, what's been your biggest surprise? Like you poured it and you're like, holy shit, I didn't expect this to be this good.
Bro, that could be a lot of things, but that's still Austin. Because I had tried
really
3 or 4 different Texas ones, and everybody talks about the Texas Funk. And
yeah,
there was some Balcones that I was like, it has grown on me. I do actually like it now, but back then it was like kind of just tolerated. It wasn't trash, but you bought it, so it's got to be drank. But still, Austin, that stuff is, and I'm sure you've tried it, right?
No.
Oh, really?
This is why I do this shit, man, because
Dude.
it's cool as hell. Like, now I want you to talk to me a little bit.
Okay.
So, like, what have you tried? Like, what do you like about it?
And I probably done one of my tasting Tuesdays. I probably done one of them for it however long ago. But that one right there, I'm telling you, you blind it, you would never think that come from Texas. You would think that was just an 8-10-year-old, nicely aged Kentucky bourbon. It is
really
very, very good. There's no Texas funk on. It's just really, really, really good bourbon, dude. It's really, and their rye is really good as well. I probably got 3 or 4 different bottles from Still Austin now, which I don't know if a lot of people picked up on it because nobody commented, but that was why I used it when Georgia beat Texas. I used the Still Austin in my, yeah. I was like, yeah. And where did Georgia win that game at? Austin. Yeah, I'm like, I give Still Austin a little rub and use them on my Instagram, but like I'm using them after Georgia just went and beat their team. You know what I mean? So that was just me. That was just me putting a little salt in the wound, But
I like it.
No, man, that's probably the one that because of course, I mean, you're going to get different things. Like I'm sitting here looking at Richland Rum. I always think of that milk stout finish that I love so much.
Mm-hmm.
Anything barrel. I mean, I just had that stuff come in the mail the other day that I still hadn't cracked those bottles. I need to crack them and try them. But anything they do, for the most part, they just don't miss. And then like that Sagamore, it's very good. And people don't. So, like I say, man, my coworkers, there's some of them that are kind of into it, but they're not into it like I am. So they just kind of dabble a little bit. They do like a bourbon, but they don't like know as much as I do about it. So we have conversations and they'll lean on me, like, hey, what about this? Like I'll get text messages and stuff from time to time. What about this bottle? What do you think the value of this one is? Should I pay this? And and I'll help them out with certain things, but then they'll have expectations and then they'll tell me later, like, oh my God, I didn't expect that. And I'm like, yeah, dude, now you know why I'm always like, I don't go in there and get a bottle that I already have. I try to get something that I've never tasted because I want to see, I guess it's kind of like, I've never been addicted to drugs or anything. I guess it's kind of like you're chasing that high, you're always trying to find that, that this is the new thing. Yeah, I've had that. I've tasted that, been there, done that. Let's go to this one and see how this one is. And I think that's why Sealbox gets so much of my money because they're always sending me them darn emails or them text messages. And I'm sitting there reading their tasting notes and I'm like, okay, let me see for myself. Now, I have been burned on that though, because I'm not gonna say any names, but there is one of them that I was like, that one, it's tolerable, but
Mm.
it has some of the more earthy notes in it than I prefer. It's a little heavy on that side, and I picked it up the other day when I seen it because everything's still in the boxes in there. I don't have them out on shelves, so I'm
Okay.
going to picking the boxes up. And I noticed on the top, I'm like, what is this one? I was like, oh yeah, that one. I put it right back in there. I was like, I got to drink it though, so I need to work on it a little bit here and there. But
We
no,
all
it was
have those
actually
bottles
a
that you're like, we always have those. We all have those bottles. You're like, oh, it's that one, and you're like, put it back, kind of thing.
yep. But no, that was a very good question. No, that really was. Yeah. So
No,
yeah.
it's
So
cool.
I'm gonna have to. Matter of fact, I got my notepad right here. I'll start making a list. So I'm gonna when when I get your care package, I'm gonna have to return the favor. So
Yeah.
you need some Still Austin.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, I heard so it's funny you mentioned the rye because the rye came up somewhere, oh God, like the last week or two. And I was really surprised by what I read. And I don't recall where it was or what it was about, if it was in a cocktail, whether it was a neat pour or whatever. But I was pretty surprised by how highly it was talked about. Or in it was a video. I remember it was a video. So I was kind of surprised by that. And that was the rye's the one that's green. That's got the white label with the green lettering, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So I
I
heard
think
it's
that's
really
right.
good, man. That's what I
It
heard.
it, it is.
And no, and liking rye in my old fashions, I'm like, okay, you find a bottle and you try it, and even if you don't like it, just make a whole shit ton of old fashions right with it. Your buddies come over, make old fashions with it. It doesn't matter. Like, so it's good. Oh, one fun thing about old fashions. I will send you a 2-ounce bottle of like legit Vermont maple syrup that my buddies brought back to me from Vermont, and then add like just a teaspoon of just a little bit of that in your old fashioned instead of like sugar, dude, or whatever you use for a sweetener. Completely changes the flavor of it completely. It's really, really good.
Wow. Okay.
Make you some bougie old fashions.
Yeah, for real. Well, I don't know if you've seen the reel where the refrigerator that we bought, the new refrigerator, new house, because when we moved, we left the one there because the rental had one, and
Hmm.
it makes the round ice spheres. Just it has the ice maker and it makes them. And
How is it? Do you like it?
the funny thing about that story is one of my coworkers asked me, he's like, "Man, where the hell did you find that refrigerator at?" And I'm like, "Dude, it was one of the cheaper ones at Home Depot. Like
Oh
I was."
wow.
Like it was like $1,100 or something like that. They've got them in there for like 1,600, 1,700. I'm like, no, and this one makes the round spheres too. I was like it's meant to be. This was like the refrigerator I needed to get.
It's totally the one that you needed to have. Absolutely. All right, let's all right, so here's an interesting question, right? So one of the things that I discover in my journey, so you know me, I'm not in a lane with everything that I drink, and I think you're not either, right? You have a little bit of rum content in there as well. What do you find, like, what if you had to create a post to convince somebody to try rum or to try tequila or to try something other than bourbon for a lot of the people that we know that does that, like, what would it look like, right? How would you approach that? What would you say? How would you approach that kind of topic to get them to try something different?
So that goes back to what I said earlier about Richland and Privateer. That
Hmm.
I've actually shared samples, specifically Privateer, and people that drink whiskey and bourbon, they thought it was a bourbon. They didn't know it was a rum. I was like, and one of them did say that it was a little sweeter, and I was like, yeah, and I was like, but why is it sweeter? And they finally got tired of me messing with them, and they were like, just tell us what it is. And I'm like, well, that's Privateer from up in Massachusetts. That's a rum. And it was like a rum, and of course they think Captain Morgan, Bacardi,
Yeah.
something like that. And I'm like, no, not that kind of rum. They put that in new oak barrels. That's why you taste the same things like you taste in the bourbon. That to me, I think that's how you get somebody, because if you already like whiskey and bourbon, you would like that rum. Now I don't know if you're going to like agricole rum because that's entirely different.
Different. Yep. Yep.
But
Yeah.
but if
I
if you're the adventurous type, then yeah, you might. You probably the person that orders the exact same thing at restaurant X when they go in, yeah, they're not that type. But the one that orders something new, orders something different, tries all the different things, that's the one that you get. They're like, yeah, try this one, see what you think. And those are the ones that you can actually get you can get them to try something different, and then they expand their horizons.
Yep. I think restaurants are the best place to do that because you can try something relatively inexpensive you haven't tried before, as long as you're willing to spend $15 probably mostly on average, right, to give it a shot. That's the best place to try to introduce yourself to something different. One of the other things too, I think with different types of liquors, right? One of the things that I think I've learned through my little journey is like I didn't go from bourbon to Hampton, right? Which is completely funky. It's that Jamaican funk, high ester stuff, right? I went from bourbon to Foursquare, right? Which is very bourbon profile-esque, right? I also didn't go from rum and bourbon to tequila like Blanco and Still Strength. I went to like Extra and Yeho, which is aged in bourbon barrels, so you get more of that tobacco, cigar, that kind of like or leather notes with it too. So I think it's all about like what you introduce them to, right, to try to get them in and try something different. Then trying to, we all have our passions about what we do like to drink, not just throw your passion in their face and be like, hey, try this. Then you're like, what, you don't like a high ester funky rum that's got like, acetone and like all these really weird flavors in it? Like, make sure that you understand your audience and get them into something to try that they haven't tried before.
Yeah, coax them into it.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, so next question. Imagine you're stuck on a desert island with one bottle of whiskey, but you have a catch. It's a bottom shelfer. What's your pick, and how would you feel like it would be a top shelf? What would make it a top shelf experience?
That's that right there. That's the old Brown Foreman early times. That stuff was
Oh
fantastic.
yeah, dude, that stuff.
And listen, if you disagree, then you can disagree, but you're wrong. And if anybody else disagrees, they're wrong too. It's different. I don't care what
That's
anybody says. Some people tried saying that it wasn't no different, that it was the same. No, it's different. And I've done the whole thing where it's got the different what do they call it on the back on the bottles where they put the distillery,
the stamp like the etching,
the DSP or whatever they put on it. You can actually whenever they announced that they sold it to Sazerac, then it was the Barton Distillery that was on there, and that's the different bottle. I've got.
Yep.
I think I still have two of them that I haven't opened. That was the old Brown Foreman. But it is different. And the new early times is fine. It's good too. It's not bad. I just prefer the Brown Foreman better. And that, which I've never had, is it? Correct me if I'm wrong here, but isn't it the JTS Brown? That's Kentucky only.
Yes, and I have a bottle. It's okay. It's more on the I mean, for me, it's more on the nutty side, which is fine. It's art. I have to be in that mood, right? Where early times, the original bottle to me wasn't that way. That bottle, I still look. Listen, I still look for those freaking black tops every single time I go to a store.
Yep.
Digging in behind the
so
shelf.
Like,
please let there just be one in the back of the shelf that I can go snag. Yeah, it's completely different. But in that same context. My thing with Old Forester 1920, the old bottles and the new bottles.
Yeah.
Forester 1910 are different too, man. I don't like the old 1910, but I like the new 1910. I don't like the new 1920, but I like the old 1920. I'm telling you, it's different. So I agree with you, man. There's different juices. They even say the new Wild Turkey 101s are completely different than they used to be a year ago and 2 years ago and so on and so forth. They're saying they're a lot harsher than they used to be. So it's really interesting.
Now I don't know if you know that story about that, but like Wild Turkey, I turned my lip up. Wild Turkey 101. Did you know that?
No, you're not a Wild Turkey guy.
Well, no. Everything else, dude, I got a whole box. I probably got
just not 101.
Well, and that's one that I probably need to revisit because that's when this comes up in conversations, people are stunned by it because Wild Turkey 101 is like your quintessential bourbon, and the one bottle that I did have, and this was back at the beginning of my journey, and I've never went and got another bottle because there's so many other bottles to buy, and I'm like, I'll spend that $20 towards this bottle that I really want, whatever. So I just haven't done it, but I probably do need to revisit it. But man, I ended up giving it away, and it was like little more than half full. I was like, here, you can have it. Just have all of it. Just get it out of my house. Every time I would try it, it would have those caramels, those vanillas. It would be oily and viscous, and you're like, okay, this is a good bourbon. But then that finish every time, and this is what I've told folks, it literally to me tasted like I bit into a backer stick that was inside one of them old backer warehouses that ain't nobody been in for 20 years. And it's just woody and dirty and moldy and wet. And I was like, it just turned,
funk, man. That's the turkey funk.
But the crazy thing is literally every other bottle of wild turkey that I've ever had that I still have now, I actually like and enjoy. It's just that wild. And some people have told me, well, maybe you just got a bad batch of 101. Maybe that was just a bad bottle. So I do need to get another bottle and revisit that. I need to, for science purposes, I do need to do that. I need to put that on my agenda. But yeah, that was always a crazy thing to, talking about bottom shelfers, like Wild Turkey 101. That's what everybody should have.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you done the Kentucky Spirit single barrels yet from them?
I have not.
So I have one. I hate it. So it's just single barrel 101. And the thing with it that I think it highlights the most is that it's Wild Turkey 101 that we buy is a blend, right? So it's the different mash bills that go into the blend. But I have a bottle of the Kentucky Spirit. I can't stand it. Like I literally.
You're talking about the one with the gold on it.
Yeah.
I do have a bottle of that. I have one that I got down in Florida when we was on vacation. I do like it. Yeah, and I do like it. Yeah.
Okay, see, I hate mine. I can't stand it. Like I need to go revisit it. Maybe since it's Thanksgiving weekend, I'll revisit it. But I've tried it 4 times. Yeah, and dude, I can't drink it. Like it's not good in any way, shape, and form. So it's interesting that you don't like 101 because I wonder if you just got one of those batches that just had one of those higher blends in it that was a little wonky. So that's funny.
Matter of fact, see, now that you say this, we was at a bar at some point. And I remember, looking on the back bar to see what they had, and they just got your regular stuff. And I said, I'll take a pour of 101 neat. Drink it and liked it. Didn't bother me. But now at that point, I had already been drinking, so I don't know if that affected it or not. Maybe my, the give a shit was broke. I don't know. But yeah, that is definitely something I do need to revisit. I definitely need to try that again and make sure that it was just one bottle, or maybe it's just the Wild Turkey 101 things.
Yeah, and rest in peace the good old early times, man, because they don't exist. I think my father-in-law still has a bottle because I gave him my other bottles because I have so many. I'm like, I need to start offloading bottles to my father-in-law's house so they can drink them and I can drink them when I go over. So when I go over tomorrow, I'll have to see if there's an old early times over there and try it again.
Yeah, when you said black top, I was like, yep, he knows. Because I do the same thing. I look every time. I told one of my buddies, he told me he's seen a slam dunk, a Maker slam dunk. I'm like, dude, you got to buy it. You can't leave that sitting on the shelf. So I always look to see, are there any slam dunks? Are there any of them that are different in any kind of way? You get them just display, right? And I'm like, and I always check early times. If I have early times, I always check them, see which ones are there. And it's blue top. I'm like, dang, man.
I don't think you're going to find any anymore. I really don't.
Not at this point.
Maybe in some old store that's been sitting there forever, right? Some old backwoods, small town store perhaps, but none of the big ones. If you get any traffic, I don't think they're going to see any. So
I think you're right.
Unfortunately. All right, that's a wrap for this episode of the Dram Amateur Podcast. A huge shout out to Mr. Given, who was on with me for over 2 hours and 30 minutes for this podcast. So we're going to split this into 2 episodes. So episode 2 will be released in a couple weeks, and you can finish up and listen to the end of that. So if you enjoyed this show, please take a moment to like, share, and leave a review. It helps us grow and reach more spirit lovers like you. You can also follow me on Instagram, dram_amateur, for updates, behind-the-scene content, and more. Your support means the world to me, and I can't wait to keep sharing this journey with you all. Until next time, remember, life's too short for bad pours, so make every dram count. Cheers, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the Dram Amateur Podcast. I hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of spirits. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. I certainly appreciate all the feedback and support. Stay tuned for more exciting episodes as we continue our exploration of bourbon, whiskey, rum, tequila, mezcal, and beyond. Cheers, and until next time, keep savoring every sip.